Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I want to talk about another lab in the damn vulnerable MCP server GitHub repo. So for those of you who have not seen my previous videos, the damn vulnerable MCP server is a series of MCP servers which are vulnerable, which have common vulnerabilities. So there's 10 in total. And how this works is pretty straightforward. It's basically a Python script, and then that Python script is starting an MCP server, which has obvious vulnerabilities, and then you can interact with that MCP server through an LLM, like for example Cloud Desktop, right? And I just want to show you real quickly like how these servers look like. So let's come over here and let's do challenge 8 today. So this is the MCP server config, and it's pretty basic, right? Like there's not much or not too much interesting stuff in there. So it starts off here. It's doing some of the imports. It spins up the MCP service, the fast MCP here, and then it's basically creating like some directories. So it's creating like this temp dv MCP challenge 8, and it's creating a file within, and then it puts like that content into that file. So it's deliberately vulnerable, like to show the vulnerabilities basically, and then it's defining the tools, the tools down here and things like this, right? And in order to start this, MCP service from Claude Desktop, for example, you need a little workaround. And the reason for that is like if you would call the Python file directly in the configuration. Let me show you this real quick. So this is my Claude Desktop config JSON file, right? Forget the above one. This is for Burp Suite, and we are not using this. It's all about this one here. So it's super simple. So this simply means like you give it a name, and then this is the command of the tool it's going to invoke. And I do not invoke the Python script directly. I invoke the MCP8.shell instead. Why I'm doing this is because the problem is that when Claude invokes something, it opens a brand new shell, and then the Python script will fail because it doesn't have the dependencies installed. So how I get around this is basically I will simply launch this one instead, which is a shell script. Let me just copy this and show you the contents real quick. And what I'm doing here is basically I'm sourcing, activating the virtual Python environment, which already has my dependencies installed, and then I'm actually going to call it. So it doesn't fail basically. So this is the whole reason. I'm sure there's other workarounds, like how you could bypass this, but that works for me. And then once it's up, you get an error message here, but this is because of the burp one. So ignore that. I don't have burp running at the moment. The important thing is here, like whenever you work with MCP, like in Cloud Desktop, you see like this hammer tool, right? And then you see basically that it has 3 available MCP tools. And this is the analyze log file, the execute Python code, and the execute shell command. All 3 of them have vulnerabilities. I just want to show you like 1 or 2 here today. So basically, I can, let's take the first one here, like please execute the shell command, blah, blah, blah. And this is basically RCE, remote code injection, right? Like, so I'm issuing a command which says like issue the shell command and cat the credentials out using the shell, the execute shell command tool. So I put this in, see what's going to happen, and it will request this. I need to allow this here, and then let's see what's happening. And if it would have guardrails, right, like it should not basically not show me this stuff, but it basically did, right? Like, so it AWS credentials, and if you look closely enough, like, well, here down here, command executed successfully, and then here's like the database username, password, AWS access key ID, secret key, access key, and stuff like that. And so it's basically it executed that command, and I don't know if this is intended, probably not, right? Or then it should at least have guardrails not to include confidential information or sensitive information in the response, right? And the other commands here would work in a similar fashion, right? Like, for example, we can also do it like with the analyze log tool, like let's grab this instead and say here, use the analyze log tool, because we used the shell execution tool before, and now it's using another tool basically it has available, and it's now doing the analysis, and that should result in the same thing, and you can already see it does. And it basically will give you the credentials as well if you use that, right? And then you see log file analysis here, and it again has the production credentials. That's RCE in conjunction with an MCP service. I hope this makes sense, and I will see you in one of my next videos. Thank you.